Does the sound of interviewing make your knees shake? So many people hate interviewing and they are so nervous that sometimes it stops them from applying for jobs. So if that is you, stay tuned because today we're going to share some of Shinebright's best kept secrets about interviewing and how to rock.
Yeah. All right. Well, welcome. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Micah.
We're the coaches and co-founders at Shinebright Coaching, and we created this channel to offer tips and resources and tools from our 11 years of coaching to help you find more fulfillment in your career. So welcome.
So today we are talking about interviewing, and you're not alone if it's something that really makes you nervous. It's, something that's going to change your life is what people focus on, right?
Yep.
So it's like the big interview, this is a make it or break it. And the bottom line is it's something you can prepare for. And that's what we want to help you to understand. It's not about just memorizing things about the company or about the role or the description you read, but it's about really understanding yourself, knowing yourself, being confident in yourself, and then also being confident in how you prepared yourself for the interview. It doesn't mean it's going to make those nerves go away, but there are ways to remind yourself to stay steady and know that you can be successful. And that's what we want to share with you today. So the first tip out of 5 is that you really need to focus on your day of mindset. It's really easy to just wake up and feel nervous and give in to the nerves, but it's another thing to really prep yourself to stay focused on a positive mindset for the day. You want to start off by really treating yourself well. So, wake up, have a cup of coffee, go for a walk, or do some yoga, whatever it is that's your most calming morning routine. If you're able to do that and access that, it's a really important factor of just starting the day off right. The next bit is not surprising, but again, I'm here to share just some really obvious reminders that are accessible and we have seen work. But remind yourself that you've prepared. If you've done the self-exploration, if you have chosen a job to apply for that is a good fit for you, and then you have also focused on understanding the company, focused on preparing in traditional ways, then guess what? You've done all you can. So you need to just take a deep breath and then show up. And again, that's just a reminder. It's a reframe of, I'm not nervous. I'm going for an interview. I have to wow them. I'm going into an interview in a way that I feel like I have prepared. So that's the second part of the mindset. The third part of the mindset is to actually rethink the relationship between yourself and the interviewer or the interview team. So again, we come to this with this idea of it's a nerve-wracking experience and that they hold all of the power. And this is something Shannon and I see in our coaching all the time. It's not that the potential employer holds all the power, it's that you are in a very cultivated way, an arrangement of getting to know each other. And they're asking the questions. And so again, that does feel like they have a step up. But the purpose, if you bring it down to its core, is that you're trying to get to know one another. They're trying to understand you and who you are, and you're also trying to understand them and whether or not that this is a company that would be a good fit for you. So it does take the edge off a little bit more to think about where the power is and what the true essence of the meeting is. The interview is to get to know one another and to see if you're going to build further upon in that relationship. And so if you remind yourself of these things, if you write them down, if you say them before going into the interview in whatever way that makes sense to you, which is I'm going to have a conversation with a potential friend, or I'm building a new relationship, or I'm really going there to hear and listen with someone who could be important in my life, it's really a different mindset, right?
Absolutely. That's a game changer.
Yeah. So those are some of our tips about just getting ready for the day of mindset. And that's our starting point today, tip 1.
Yep.
Tip 2,
practice makes perfect. So, I think like Micah said, the biggest way that you can give yourself the chance to show up confident and at your best is to be prepared. And one of the ways you can really be prepared is to do your research, to really have an in-depth and thorough understanding of the company that you are interviewing at, the role, the team, the industry as a large, but also to have a really good sense of who you are and why you're the best fit, And then to practice some of the most common interview questions that are out there, including the hard one. What is your greatest weakness? People get tripped up on that. Apparently, one of the questions where people get tripped up really quickly in an interview is tell me about yourself. And through the research, we found that this is where people can start to ramble. If they don't have a concise story ready in their back pocket to tell that is, a compelling kind of overview of who you are and what you want the interviewer to, remember about you and why you're there and why you think you're the best candidate, then it can be easy to just kind of start rambling and going in 16 different directions. And then what's hard about that is it's hard to kind of pull it back in or rein it back in and get on track and get back to your talking points. So doing the work ahead of time to make sure that you know how you want to answer all the potential questions that you could anticipate, and then practice, right? So saying them out loud, or have a buddy that you can be practicing, or your partner, or if you work with a coach, doing some mock interviews with your coach so that the answers that you give in the interview feel authentic, they feel, detailed, they feel like they are a good representation of you, but you've also said it enough that it feels like it's just second nature at that point. So practice makes perfect, so you can show up confident and prepared and wow the interviewer.
So important. And the next tip is do your research. So before the interview happens, you have time and you know the things that you should be researching from Googling them. And that's where you really need to make sure you're looking at all angles. So obviously research the organization, the mission, the values, the people who are interviewing you, and everything else that you can find out about the company, and perhaps even why the role is open. This is where our networking that we talk about so much. Oftentimes when people are job searching, you can be targeting companies, and you might be getting an interview where you know someone, where you've reached out to people who actually have worked at that organization or still do work there. And those are great resources. I don't think that it's inappropriate to reach out to them at all unless they're on the hiring committee. But you want to make sure that you are asking questions that have some depth rather than, do you just like working there? Because, people will have their own opinions and that's what you want to hear, but you want to hear them in a structured way. How does the team face challenges? Have you worked with this manager before? Are they interested in growing the potential of their employees? Do you feel supported when you're having things happen in your own life? These are the different angles that you won't find by doing the Google research. So if you can, reach out to folks who work there. It is a part of the research though. And another thing is to just kind of unlock every door. If there's something that you think you can find out more about, do it. Because you never know what might come up in an interview where you can make a connection or where you can showcase who you are based on your intricate knowledge of what their goals are, how they've grown in the last couple of years. So that's what the purpose of this is. It's not just for rote memorization. Like, I know this company was founded in 1986 or whatever it is. It's actually about having it so deeply known to you that in an interview, if a question pops up where they ask you about yourself and what you could do in a role, you can make a connection towards maybe some of their mission and goals.
Yeah, it's a really important way to wow and stand out is to show up as an expert already, right? Show that you do your work. It's a way to demonstrate, like, this is what I would, the value I would bring if I was in the role, right? Like, this is how devoted and committed and invested I am. I did all this homework, that I have a really thorough understanding of this company and this industry and why I would be the best fit. And like Micah said, to be able to make real-time connections because you prepared and did the research, what a way to stand out and to really leave a really good impression on the interviewer.
And this one also makes the very first tip of having the ability to have a healthy mindset on the day of. This is a big factor. If you take the time to do the research and do it in this intricate way, you're going to feel very confident.
Okay, so tip number 4, you want to really listen and take your time in the interview. So as we all know, interviews are so nerve-wracking. A lot of people do not spend their days talking about themselves or trying to sell themselves to other people. It's not a natural skill for most of us. And so it's uncomfortable. And so it can be easy to get flustered or overwhelmed or let your nerves get the best of you. And in that case, sometimes people can ramble. They can, kind of go offline where they're not actually listening to the interviewer. And so you really want to be practicing some techniques to help you to stay present in the moment for a few reasons. One, you want to be able to connect to the interviewer. Like Micah said, this is about you, interviewing them as well to feel like, hey, do I want to work for this person? Am I getting a good feeling and vibe? As well as they're interviewing you. So you want to be able to be present, so you can connect. You want to make good eye contact, right? And so some simple tips and techniques to do that are some mindfulness techniques. So you can be doing this right before the interview. And some easy ones are, some box breathing, right? So box breathing is where you breathe in for 4, you hold your breath for 4, you breathe out for 4, and then you hold it out for 4. And you repeat that cycle for as many times as you need to just calm your nerves, lower your cortisol so you can get out of fight or flight and just be present. Some other easy things is to, just rub your hands together or rub your hands on your pants. That brings you into the present moment, or even just looking around your environment and scanning the environment and saying out loud the things that you can see in your vicinity helps you to get out of your head, right? To calm the nervous system, to get back into your body, which allows you to stay present, right? So you can be fully connected, listening, and engaged in the interview. And during the interview, if you're feeling those nerves get away from you again, remember some really simple things you can be doing. It's like, just rubbing your hands on your pants, right? Or feeling your feet on the ground. These are things that you can do without the interviewer actually knowing that you're doing it in order to come back into your body, right? Calm your nervous system so you can be present and listening. What was the thing that you heard about ChatGPT?
There were 2 things, actually. So one thing that seems obvious, but we also forget in that kind of nervous state of mind, and that's to show enthusiasm. So you're there because you want this job. And it is serious as you're getting to know these potential employers. But if there's something about the job that is really exciting to you, don't forget to smile, to nod when they're explaining a potential goal, to be engaged in that type of listening too, where you're really letting them know, hey, I want this job. This is really exciting. This, I could show up and do very well just in your body language. So that's a big thing that people forget. And it is connected to listening, because if you're not paying attention and you're just doing that, you kind of then look crazy, right? So you got to make sure it's appropriate and that it's authentic. I think that's really important. One more piece that I actually read about from ChatGPT in our research is to ask for clarification. A lot of times when we're in interviews, things are going fast too. And so that's why Shannon's tips about these tactile things, touching your leg and kind of bringing yourself back into focus in these other ways are so important. Another part of active listening is to really pay attention to what's being said and to make sure that you're answering that exactly and not getting off track. And another thing that we do is we don't listen well enough sometimes and we get confused. And there's no shame in saying, oh, I'm so sorry. Could you repeat that? I didn't quite understand the last part of that question. Can you please clarify? Asking for clarification does not result in them thinking less of you. It actually shows that you're a person who's confident and confident enough to ask for that clarification in an interview. That shows character. And it's important to do because you can't answer a question that you don't understand well.
Yeah. And just to add to that, another technique you could use just to make sure that, again, you're staying present, you're listening well, is to actually repeat back what they said to you. So if they ask a question, you can say out loud, so what I heard you say is, or what what you're asking me to explain is, and that repeating gives your brain a second to just kind of process and to understand. And like Micah said, to ensure that you're actually answering the question that they presented versus letting the nerves get the best of you and, going off on a tangent.
So the fifth tip that we as Shinebright coaches think is so important sounds obvious, but it's leave a good impression. Make sure that when you're exiting the interview, you thank everyone. If it's in person, shake their hand if possible on these post-COVID days. If not, on Zoom, make sure you're saying thank you for your time and waiting till everyone is actually clicking out of the meeting. The next piece is something you hear about all the time, which is send a thank you note. And it sounds obvious and trite, but actually when people do not send thank you notes, it's very noticed by hiring managers and by recruiters. And so you don't want to be the one that is noticed for not doing something so simple.
Yeah.
Question is, though, where do you send the letter or the email? And the answer is wherever you can. So if you only have an email, then it is appropriate to send a thank you via email. And in today's day and age, that's most common. This is another place where you can show some of your personality too.
Yep.
So if you connected on something with that interviewer or hiring manager, make sure you thread it back in a thank you note. If you can send a snail mail thank you card, it's also pretty awesome. But you have to consider, will it get there in time? And, what are the logistics to that? So depending on what your situation is, you can consider which is the best option, but it's an absolute must. I was also doing research amongst friends who are hiring managers, and many of them said, I'm shocked that people sometimes just leave an interview and then wait for me to call, because it doesn't really leave them top of mind in my mind, right?
Yeah. And it's, I think an opportunity for you to, one, show your enthusiasm and interest, right? To reiterate, I'm so excited. I'm really, pumped about this role. And then to be able to say for these reasons and, to bring in, a kind of point you want to make about why you think you would be the best candidate. And if you fumbled a question in the interview, that's actually a really good place to be able to, say, your piece and what you really want them to remember about you and why they should hire you in, a really concise and compelling way. So it's, a win-win for both sides.
So those were our 5 Shinebright tips on how to rock an interview. And again, they're simple and they are grounded in what we shared with you today. But the point is you can be successful in an interview, even if you are someone that's exceptionally nervous about it. It's about taking the time, building the confidence, and following these simple steps and practicing. So we know that you've got this, and we thank you for joining our Shinebright channel today. And of course, if you liked this video, please hit like and subscribe to our channel. Drop any questions or comments in the links below, and we wish you a great day.
Good luck out there.